Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the 9% application workshop. We know that most of you have been working on your applications for a while now and probably are just getting to the point where you're going to start entering everything into our system. But we wanted to give you a few tips, hints, and just things to watch out for. Um, One of the things that we always start with on any presentation is talking about NIFA's mission, vision, and values. Specifically, our mission is growing Nebraska's communities through affordable housing and agribusiness. A lot of people forget that there is that agribusiness component in what we do. We'll just go over a basic introduction, submittal date, how to apply for LIHTC as far as where to go on our website, some helpful information, and some questions. First, I would like to just introduce myself, our team from NIFA. I'm Sarah Dakota. I'm the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Allocation Manager. Pam, we have Pamela Skinner, who is our Low Income Housing Tax Credit Assistant Manager on today. And then we also have Cassandra Stark, who is our coordinator. And then we have, I believe we have some other staff that I noticed that we have Tammy Bird, who is our assistant compliance manager. And if there's anyone else on here, you can unmute
Nope.
yourself. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we had everyone. Um, okay, so to start back on our submittal dates, we have the full application is due on May 8th. Threshold deficiency would be on July 8th is when those would be due. And then the reservations would be at are planned to be at our August board meeting. I would like to note that this is really just technical items at this point in time. We'll answer specific application questions or QAP questions at our office hour sessions that we have. They're on the event calendar, and they're just open. You can drop in anytime you like. And then also what we do with those is provide FAQs that we will put on the website so that if you're not able to attend one of those sessions, you can definitely get the same information that anyone attending those office hours would have.
And the first one is Friday at 10 a.m.
Thanks, Pam.
Yes.
So now you have the dates, which I'm sure you are already all aware of, but then how to actually go into our online application and apply for LIHTC. Pam's going to go ahead and walk you through this.
So when you hit that link that Sarah just showed you in the PowerPoint, it'll bring you to this website. You'll click here on the 9% LIHTC AHTC application dates, and you can see the deadlines there as well for this year and the upcoming next 2 years. Down here is the application for the 2026 competitive cycle. You click on that and it'll bring you to this website. If you've never created an account, you will create an account. If you have an account, you will log in here. I do just want to remind you that if there are any issues with anything in the application, please send an email to Sarah, myself, and Cassandra. That way we have a record of it. But if you're having difficulties as well, please use this button right here. It'll bring this up and you can ask. You can start going through here if you're having questions by messaging and starting a question, and then they can help assist if they can, especially if it's something that way it gets it into the system rather than having to wait for us to create a ticket if you're having difficulties.
Yeah,
I think many of you guys have already created an account or have logged in before. Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
nope, you're fine. This is just some of you remember our old system where we were the point of contact and managed all of that. But this is in this new system. If there's any issues, again, like Pam said, we need to know so that we can track it and make sure that that the software is doing their due diligence and answering things timely and things like that for you, but they do handle any of those major requests and issues. They can do it usually quicker than we can, but again, um, it's really important to let us know. Also,
Yes.
just I wanted to point out, and Pam kind of has her mouse there, is that that links. You've got a section that actually links to the allocation plan. So if you have any questions, you can just pop right out.
Yes, and all of the forms that you will need for the application is right here under individual forms. These are all templates that NIFA has created for you to be able to complete for these specific exhibits. We also have the fee schedules there. And then anyone applying for Nebraska Department of Economic Development funding, all of your forms are right here as well for easy fillable forms that can be saved and then uploaded into the system.
Okay. Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome.
Okay. So from there, we will go to just some hints and helpful information. Uh, so file naming. I know this seems extremely silly, but there are a lot of issues and a lot of time that's taken when exhibit names are too long. It doesn't allow them to download to our system, so we have to individually go in and change every file name, and it takes a lot of time. So we ask that you keep a simple naming convention with just the exhibit number and limit it to 20 characters, no special characters. So no, pound sign or percent sign or anything like that. And then a unique name for each file, because if you have two files named the same thing, it's going to cause an issue with one file maybe not pulling over correctly or something like that. Um, then another thing to think about is that there is a section for you to when you put your file in, you can also do a reviewer name to the file. The reviewer name, it's fine that you use that, but still when you are uploading the file, it's still the file name that comes over when we're downloading it and moving it over to our system. So again, that on your file name, no matter what your reviewer name is, let's say you change that to Exhibit 111, the file name still needs to be limited to 20 characters. And again, try to be consistent with that naming convention. File requirements, again, we talk about please don't add any cover pages for your exhibit. They look beautiful, but they take up space, and it's definitely not required. We would prefer not to have them. Um, Most of your documents should be PDF unless otherwise outlined. So obviously, like the 111 would be an Excel form, and there's a couple of others like the Exhibit 18. Those must be Excel, but otherwise, please upload PDF. The other item to look at is there's no zip files. You must have one individual file per upload section. So for Exhibit 110 or 107, if you have four documents that you'd like to upload to that, those need to be you need to merge those together on your side and upload them as one file.
I also just want to make a note that when there's threshold deficiency correction period, that when you are uploading those files as well, they are in one file, not multiple files.
Yep. One file per exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
So, additional general information. If you have questions about any of the 100 level exhibit, please go to page 17 in the application. It really details out what you need for each exhibit. Same thing with other selection criteria. Page 27 of the application breaks down specifically what's needed. Pam already pointed out where you could find all of the fillable required exhibit template on our website. And then really, again, it sounds repetitive, but review the requirements that are detailed in the application. So again, that page 17 and that page 27 are going to give you that detailed breakdown of what you need for the application. Keep in mind, do not alter any documents. Specifically, if you have a signed document from a third party, and it was signed a week ago, but then you should not be changing anything after that document has been signed by all the information has been filled out and signed by the third party. If you need to make a change, you're going to have to send it back and have it completely redone. It could be something that you both agree on a change, but we don't know that. And it just looks like you altered someone else's documentation. So it's really important to make sure that you're not altering any signed third-party verifications. Please remember that we do have the NIFA multifamily lending pilot program available, and there's information about that in the application. One of the things to really remember is that we would like you to also have to provide us if you're interested in NIFA multifamily lending, great. We want you to check the box, but also we do ask that you have an alternative firm lending source um, uploaded as an option, just in case, something were to happen that you didn't qualify for the multifamily lending, we would still know that you're able to move forward on your application. Again, please remember each exhibit has a different requirement. So again, it's going back to what those individual requirements are on for this level 100 exhibit and the other selection criteria exhibit, and really make use of the forms. Pam, it's escaping me right now what our name of the chapter that has the exhibit templates and
Exhibit
examples.
examples.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Those are super helpful. And specifically, there's some information that breaks down information like what do you need to provide if you're doing an HCCP, if you're asking for HCCP points and things like that. Pam also already talked to you about reviewer issues. So again, email us so that we can track any issues you're having. Our goal is to really eliminate issues as soon as possible and make sure that we are, that this product is doing what we all need it to do, and that it's making the process more efficient and streamlined. So email us, but make sure you go ahead and reach out to reviewer with that little chat support box that Pam showed you earlier. Okay, so some threshold issues that we see that we really just want to talk about, stumbling blocks or issues that we often see when we're scoring applications, is that, again, I know I've said it a lot of times, but not knowing the requirements of the exhibit. So again, going back to the paper application or the PDF application where it shows you what you need for each of those exhibits is really important. An issue we see a lot with the Exhibit 100 is that we ask that the architect certifies to the little box that's on the Exhibit 111 with the total square footage and that information. And sometimes that gets missed. So we'd like to point that out. And also on Exhibit 100, making sure that the proper floor plans are included and to label them. Again, it sounds like a small thing, but sometimes when we're looking at these plans, it's very difficult to see what a little symbol is, or if if it's not labeled, or there's not some sort of legend that shows this symbol is the washer and dryers or something like that. Like, we need to have them either labeled, or there clearly needs to be a legend that we can see where the different items are on the in the floor plan. For Exhibit 102, which is the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Marketing Plan, please just try to use the most up-to-date form. We know that most of the time that form is expired. Things may change with that, but for this point in time, we're still using the form. Again, just look for the most recent dated form. Exhibit 103, one of the challenges we often see is that one of the steps with this is missed. So remember that it doesn't matter if you're leasing the property or if you're going to buy the property. We must have see the evidence of who the current ownership is. So if there's there's an option to lease or something like that, we need to know that who you're leasing it from is the one who is currently owns the property and has the authority to enter into that lease or purchase contract. And then remember, we do need the appraisal and then the attestation for that as well. And then for Exhibit 108 and Exhibit 116, which are the equity, 108 is the federal equity and 116 is the state equity. Those sources must match what's in the Exhibit 111. And I mean, and Pam, you can chime in on this, but if you're listing that you're going to have TIF and home funds on the Exhibit 108, and your syndicator is aware of that, then that should also be somewhere on your Exhibit 111.
Yes.
The Exhibit 110, this is an exhibit that's required for the multifamily lending program. So please make use of that. And then Exhibit 111, use whole numbers. That's a problem that we see a lot, that people tend to use decimal points, especially in the square footage, which causes some challenges. So please round to the nearest whole number before you're putting it in Excel, because oftentimes we'll see then, just being off on square footages. And since we use those square footages as some of our efficiency calculations, it's very important to have the correct square footages. And then another thing that's often missed is reserve requirements. So NIFA has minimum reserve requirements. DED has minimum reserve requirements. However, whoever your lender is, your syndicator, they may have more restrictive requirements. So please make sure you're putting the correct reserve requirements in your Exhibit 111, which is your pro forma. Just some things on the exhibit, the different other selection criteria for the Crown program, which that exhibit is 201. There was an increase in points for those who are utilizing the Crown program. There has been, again, then mixed income developments. There was a little bit of some change there with the points in that piece. Also, one of the things that we talked about in the mixed income development, we talked about this a lot in the QAP conversation, is that a mixed income development, you can get points for having market rate units, but you're only going to get points if it's truly a mixed income development, meaning you have building, like let's say you've got two buildings, both buildings have both market and tax credit units in them. So they will have some sort of a applicable fraction that is not 100%. Because essentially, let's say you had two buildings, one was market and one was tax credit, and they each had 10 units. Well, that, you could not, you basically, in the way of the IRS, is that those mixed income units or the market rate units just simply don't exist. And so it's really not truly I know you're building it together, but you're not truly integrating those units in with the tax credit unit. So just take a look at that mixed income development section a little bit closer. So because of that, we made a change and added development of market rate units because we understand and we encourage that you may have a tax credit project and then a market rate project that you can build at the same time. um, Helps with economy of scales, can sometimes make it easier to get vendors in when you're doing it at the same time. So you still can get points for having a tax credit project and then doing some market rate units alongside of it, not part of the same project, but it is something that is available for you. So then, development of housing in Greater Nebraska. Um, there was a few changes in regard to that. So please take a look at that section, and it is a non-metro only section. Exhibit 205, and Pam, for the life of me, I can't think of what Exhibit 205 is right now.
It's the Public Housing Authority
Yes.
referral form.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you're
So
welcome.
please make sure on that referral form, we've changed that a couple of QAPs ago. Used to be that the housing authority had to sign it, which really didn't make any sense because we're not asking the housing authority to do anything. We're asking the developer to make sure that they're always, when they have available units, that they're letting the housing authority know. So this is very similar to now what you've done with letting your highest government official just know that you're doing an application. It's similar to this. You are filling out a form, letting the housing authority know of your intention to let them know when you will have that if you have units that you will let them know. So they don't need to answer you if nothing like that, because we know that some housing authorities definitely have different staffing levels and maybe don't have the time to do that. So all we ask for is proof of delivery. Whether that is, there's different ways you can do proof of delivery. A lot of times we see a, you're sending it via mail and then having some sort of proof from USPS or something like that. You could send it via email, but again, we need to have some sort of proof of delivery, which would be, you could have an email back just from the housing authority acknowledging they receive it. But regardless, we have to have proof of delivery, and people have missed those points before. On Exhibit 206, which talks about applicant owner track record, we've been talking about this for at least 2 QAPs now. Finally, it has been enacted that if an applicant, owner, or a consultant, and please know that the consultant is if they are also in the role of a developer. So eh, we're listing everything together, but again, it depends on what the role is in the particular deal. So if you're just a consultant all the time, that's not necessarily a big deal. It's just kind of when you're doing you have multiple roles. But if you've requested an increase in tax credits, now there are negative points associated with that. If you've requested them, and we just want to, again, we know this is kind of extreme, but we have tried to let people know that this is something that have been going to do for a few years now. The other thing to keep in mind is there is a section in the QAP that tells you what you need to do if you do have to ask for an increase in tax credits. There's exact steps that you can go through. So some additional selection criteria information. Exhibit 208, the NIFA LIHTC compliance training. We know that because of the timing of our training this year and our annual conference this year, that you may not have your certificate back yet. We understand that. You still, as long as you identify who attended, the organization they were from, and their position, then we will be able to check to verify whether or not those individuals attended both days and will be receiving a certificate. So don't worry about that if you're concerned about not getting your certificate in time from that training. So then Exhibit 208 for the HCCP verification, we've had some challenges with individuals providing correct and valid documentation for this. So we have added information in the exhibit examples section so that step-by-step process in regard to how you go on the National Home Builders Association website, find the HCCP section, and you can then pull up the valid documentation for anyone who has a valid HCCP. Just simpler that way, less questions. So we've provided those directions for you in the in that section of the application.
And as soon as you're done going through the rest of this slide, I'll take back over and show them the Exhibit 111 and show them the HCCP spot in the
Perfect.
Exhibit 1 examples
That's
chapter.
awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
So Exhibit 209, we at one point in time, we used to ask for you to put your plans and architecture information in 2 sections. So we changed that a couple of QAPs ago. So now we only ask for the exhibit, for Exhibit 100 is the only place we ask for the plans. So there are things in Exhibit 209 that need to be labeled in Exhibit 100, which includes the plans. And that does that on the online application, but we just want to remind you of that. And then make sure that any exterior additions that they're listed in the architect certification. Now, we mean specific exterior additions. Please just don't put there's a line in the application that says it could be this, 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 or this. Don't just repeat what's in the application for possibilities. We want to know the specific things you're doing. If you're going to add shutters, put that on there. If they're going to be, some sort of decorative fence or something like that, you need to make sure that's specifically listed and shown in Exhibit 100, but then also that the architect is certifying to that. And then, oh, go ahead.
We did change the application to where you had to select the ones that you will be doing, and we did provide an other selection so you can type in other categories that may not have already been in that list. So just make sure you're providing that, and then that should match what the architect is certifying to.
Awesome. So Exhibit 210 covers Section 811. And it talks about, it specifically talks about some things that if you're interested in Section 811, just some items that you need to be aware of. But one of the things we really want to point out is that there are a little bit stricter green standards in regard to Section 811. So you must elect the specific required green standard in Exhibit 209. And then the other thing that we want to point out is that because unfortunately, as everyone knows, things are a little chaotic in Washington, D.C. right now, and we are not 100% aware of when we will get this Section 811 contract or information. We just really want to make sure that when you're looking at these deals, that you're putting in your rent not to exceed your LIHTC rent limit. So please, when you're underwriting, make sure that you're not exceeding the LIHTC rent limit. And then the new leverage and collaboration section of the application, where we had a lot of challenges in the past with getting actual commitments ahead of time. So what we have done is we have changed how we look at leverage and collaboration. And just to know where you're at on that is we have added a section on the exhibit 111, and Pam will show you that here in a few minutes when we switch over to her. She'll show you a couple things specific. So Metro only, there were some changes in areas of high opportunity. Please, there we're no longer using the data diversity kids metric. We've changed that to a separate metric. So please go ahead and take a close look at that. There is a website. Again, you're able to look up what your points would be. Those will not change. We're not updating those annually or anything like that. We decided the best way for you to be able to plan is to keep those static through each QAP, and then we would update and make changes just like we do in other sections based QAP to QAP. We may find that these area of high opportunities are not the direction that we want to go, and we may make changes. Again, this is trying out a new way of measuring an area of high opportunity and going from there. Another new exhibit is the DHHS DBH referral commitment. This again is similar to the Housing Authority commitment, but what you're doing is you are basically agreeing to work with your specific region, which all of that information is provided in the application let them know or take referrals from the Department of Behavioral, DHHS Department of Behavioral Services. Another issue or another new section is housing and healthcare. This is a very difficult section because this allows a lot of creativity, and we really have a lot of flexibility in this. So I know we have been receiving some emails asking for some more information. So if you have an idea and you want to run it by us, please feel free to email us, Pam, Cassandra, and I, and we are working on putting together some feedback, which we will then again share that in the FAQs as well, so that you have everybody has access to the same information. The other item we changed is the natural disaster declaration. So obviously, we had a partnership with the Department of Economic Development with their CDBG DR funds, and so because of DR, and I know I'm going to say it 420, I could be saying the wrong one, but DR 420, which is the last major flooding event that we had in Nebraska. We had restructured how the points for disasters were awarded. What we have switched back to is more flexibility with our natural disaster declaration. There are some qualifications in order to be able to receive points in this category. One of the things we really look at is has there been a natural disaster declaration? And then was there loss of housing? Was there significant loss of housing? So we have a way that thanks to FEMA, they break down everything now on each disaster regarding how many homes are lost, how many homes are damaged, like the level of damage. So it's very interesting. So then we're able to take that number and tie it to the total number of households reported or homes reported in that particular area as well, and able to really look at, was it a significant loss? So currently right now, just to let you know, and this, I don't think, I know that Governor Pillen had just recently requested or did a proclamation for parts of Nebraska, but that has not got to the presidential level yet. So just so you know, as of right now, there are no natural disaster points available based on the the requirements with the significant loss of housing. Although we've had damage, there has not, and we've had disasters. There, a lot of them have not resulted in significant loss of housing. Instead, they've resulted in, more business loss, or land being destroyed, things like that, but not the loss of housing.
Okay, I
Pam,
will
yep.
share some stuff here real quick before Sarah continues. So when Sarah was talking about the architect certifying for the Exhibit 100, she's talking about this square footage summary chart right here at the bottom of the unit information tab. I just want to make sure everyone is looking at the same chart. We have been seeing a lot of different things coming in, and this is the chart they need to be certifying to.
Pam, and that's Exhibit 100, correct?
Yes, so Exhibit
This,
100 should
yep,
certify to this
perfect.
square footage summary chart. The other thing I wanted to show you is when we were talking about leverage and collaboration, these numbers will automatically populate to show you what your leverage and collaboration um, number would be. So then you can go to the application and see how many points you would receive. We also have added this NIFA fees chart here. We have noticed in several applications that individuals are not calculating the fees correctly. So we added this to make sure that the fees are reflected in your development cost schedule appropriately, so we don't have issues with the fees not being accurately represented. There is a 4% only, but you don't need to do anything with that. That is for the
Pam,
4% applications. Yes.
real quick, do you mind going back to that?
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, and perhaps everyone's aware of it, but the efficient housing production tab, that's
Hmm.
really important if you want to look at where your numbers are for the efficient housing production. So not everybody takes the time to fill in because you'd need to fill in your number of units, but this is for your information only. We don't
Hmm.
necessarily look at this, but it's a good tab for you to be able to know where you fall in those calculations.
I have noticed when underwriting, a lot of individuals in this LIHTC per occupant calculation will put all of the units, and it may be a mixed income development. You only put the LIHTC units here. You do not include every unit. That number here would then be very different than what we will get at the end when we underwrite it. So just note that. I do have a tendency to look at these numbers to see how they compare to the numbers I've received, just to see if what you've had. But if there's a difference, I then look to see, is it on my end, your end? So that way I know if it's something I need to review a little bit further.
So we really recommend you filling out that section.
Yes. We also have this AMI tab. This is for your use as well, just for your information on receiving the targeting gross rent bonus points. We have the total, we have it calculated so you know the exact number of units you need in order to be able to get these points. And remember, these are only for LIHTC units. This would not be the market rate units either. And we've noticed a lot of people putting market rate units on here. That would affect your overall AMI, but again, you don't need to put those on here as you're maybe just trying to do the rent targeting to get those extra 5 points, up to 5 points. And if it's 3.2, you'd have to round up to like 4 units would have to meet that requirement since we can't have 0.2 of a unit for that one. And then this is the leverage and collaboration tab. I just wanted to show you this so you can see the difference in points, so you can see what that percentage from Exhibit 111 would show you what your point values could be. And then for this one, this is the HCCP certification. We have the website here, but this is what we're looking for. We're looking for some kind of something showing that they are still a valid HCCP holder. That way we're not having to go to the website and look, or the certification may be really old, but they still may be have a valid certificate, but because the documentation that was provided is invalid because it's so old, that we can't accept that. So this is what we want. We want a screenshot from the actual NAHB website to show us that they still currently hold a valid certification for HCCP for the management qualification section of the application.
The other thing is sometimes people forget to change their names. So
Yep,
even if we could try to look for it, we often, there's oftentimes we aren't unable to find it. So we just have really decided to make it a little bit simpler, really kind of detail out exactly what we need.
correct. Okay, you can take it back, sir.
Okay. Maybe if I can get my mouse to work
It's a Monday.
all day long.
Yes.
Okay. So, on that note, we would really like to just remind you about our upcoming NIFA Innovation Expo 2025. This year it will still be held in Lincoln, but it will be at the Embassy Suites in Lincoln from April 28th to April 30th. And then there is the link to register for both the Innovation Expo and then the low income housing tax credit compliance training, which is part of that as well. Schedules changed a little bit this year. The way that our agenda is laying out, we're still having different tracks, but it is a little bit different in regard to not necessarily just going to be rental. It's going to have a variety of different sessions that often might touch on several different areas of importance or things that you're interested in. So, really, we encourage you to take a look at the Innovation Expo site and register. It's always a really good time to connect with everyone. We love being able to see everyone in person and really, really get a chance to talk to everyone and or you all to get to meet some of our other staff and other partners in affordable housing.
I did just also want to note, Sarah, that there is a difference in change of the way the schedule actually is laid out as well. All day on the 28th and the morning of the 29th will be the LIHTC compliance training along with some other homeownership training, but the conference itself wouldn't start until midday on the 29th. So that way all of the property managers and those owners or whoever you wanted to attend the LIHTC compliance training can then fully attend the Innovation Expo as well.
Yes, so that last day, it used to be a half day. It is now a, a
A full
longer
day.
day. Yep. So, okay. So, questions. We encourage you to reach out to us. Again, if you have a specific question, just, definitely identify that if it's a specific question about the application, about this workshop, please feel free to identify that. And again, or in the header of your email. And what we will do is, again, provide this as part of an FAQ that's posted online so that everyone has access to the same information. We've also included Michelle Grimes' contact information on here. And as many of you know, Community Development Block Grant DR funds are no longer available. So the two funding sources we currently have with the Department of Economic Development are home funds and National Housing Trust funds. So, and specific questions about either of those programs have to be directed to Michelle. Um, so we really appreciate you taking the time to attend today. And Pam, did you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we got it covered.
Okay. Again, please reach out with any questions in writing. We will respond in writing and again, put that as part of an FAQ so everyone has this access to the same information. We really
And we
appreciate Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say we will post this workshop video on the web as well. So if you needed to go back and review anything, if you forgot something, it will be posted on the website as well. It may take a couple days before it's posted though.
The presentation will also be
Mhm.
posted so that you can go back and just look at the presentation and not the whole video if you don't want to listen to
Correct.
me ramble on.
Or me.
So again, thank you very much. Everyone have a fantastic day.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you.